Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Gonna do an unscripted video on the healing power of amends in recovery. It's one of the steps. When it came to doing amends, of course I was nervous. There are certain minor debates in recovery if it came from the fourth step, our list, if it didn't come from the amends. From the fourth step, not saying anything there. But when I was going through the process, I did it in a order, as is the way to go. And I'm not going to talk about how I knew who I owed an amends to. But in my mind, knowing that I might come up with excuses. Oh, but I'll get to that one later. But they hurt me first, or whatever it is. I was kind of like, I'll be scared. I'll be nervous. I don't want to do it. So I did the hardest ones first. The way I saw it is I'm basically starting at the top of the hill going down as opposed to at the bottom of the hill going up. So it gets easier and easier walking downhill. So that's how I saw it. What wound up happening is the first 3 amends that I had to do, I just knew who they were. There was a friend who I grew up with, party at his house July 4th one year, and I was intoxicated and did some stuff that was completely unacceptable. Little history of it is that I was blacked out, didn't remember what happened, didn't know anything. Actually, I didn't know anything happened because I was blacked out. But I was becoming more and more uncomfortable around this person. I was becoming uncomfortable with everything and everybody, but more so around this person. This is a kid I grew up with, knew each other since we were 7 years old. At this point, we were 25, 26. And I think we were 25. And I knew if we had grown up together that there was really should be no reason for me to be uncomfortable around him. And to find out 3 years after the fact, I found out in 2008 what had happened from 2005. And no one believed that I didn't remember, but my story is, I'm like, look how intoxicated I was. There was dry goods, there was alcohol. You saw how bad off I was. What makes you think I actually do remember? If you're saying I was so intoxicated, I don't remember. What makes you think I would do if I was as messed up as you described? But, okay, so that's person 1. Person 1, I owed them and him and his parents. And I remember remembering the phone number. If he ever sees this, he'll know it's him. The phone number of the house he grew up at. There is a reason I did remember I'd done something wrong, but it was me and another person, but I had to take responsibility for my part. And called his house and knew the mother's voice. We have this long conversation, and I said, would you mind giving me his phone number? I have to have this conversation with him, too. He may never want to speak to you again. Why don't we take your number? If he wants to call you, he will. If not, he won't. I'm like, that's actually a really good idea because he may never want to talk to me again. So we have this long conversation. 2 minutes after we hang up the phone, my phone rings from a number I don't know. Guess who it is? And the healing that came from it, the discomfort that I had was now gone. The 3 of us wound up getting together one day, couple of months later, they actually took me out for lunch. I should have taken them. They wound up taking me out for lunch, the three of us. And one guy we didn't have much further contact. This guy that I owed the bigger amends to took me back, and I don't know why, to be honest. Well, he wound up becoming like a savior of my life, not officially, but did me so many favors, jobs, ideas, got me an internship while I was in school studying nutrition, and it's been nothing but good to me. And how that came out, he's helped with everything he can. The biggest healing that I got, though, those were certainly healing. I understand one guy didn't want to talk to me much again. Then the other guy took me back and like kind of took me under his wing. But the biggest healing came from, if any of them should see this, they'll know. I was in a fraternity in college. I went into it. The reason I pledged was not for good reasons. I was not looking to hurt anybody. I was looking for validation. I didn't feel like I'd have friends otherwise. No one will like me. I have a very strong need for being accepted, for people liking me. My whole life. I think that's because when I was growing up, I was bullied and left out. I was not in the cool crowd, and I've always felt not wanted. So I pledged the fraternity and go up to school at the beginning of September. I'm pledging by the end of September, through, weird coincidences, I wind up going for this fraternity. I went into that school planning on pledging. I was looking for, well, I want to, by default, have a solid group of people. I want to feel cool for once. And it was all low self-esteem. And I was with them for 2 years, and it didn't end well. They did some stuff. I did some stuff in return. And some of them might see this, so I'm not going to say what was going on. But I basically, I'm out. And I'm blowing you up on the way out. You screwed with me for 2 years. Well, some of them did. So, and I'm destroying you while I leave. And that's what happened. And so what wound up happening was in 2019. It wound up, okay, let me back up a step. One guy I never lost touch with. We are still very close to this day. And we stayed in touch over the years, and we're still in touch to this day. Wound up having this reunion in 2019. And they invited, but then through the miracle of Facebook, there were a few years into sobriety. I had completely forgotten about them. So I didn't list them when I initially did the amends. Because I genuinely forgot. Wasn't trying to leave them out. And so they invite me to this reunion, and I'm like, I don't know, it'd be uncomfortable. There's going to be a couple of guys that's still pissed off at me, even though they deserved it. And yes, no, in my head, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So I said I'd go, and then I was kind of, I don't know, there's going to be people there that are, there's going to be drama, and was talking to one of the guys. And I did make the amends through the miracle of Facebook, got in touch with a couple of them, keep forgetting this part, sent some messages, some guys didn't respond, so I tried a second or third time, they still didn't respond. Okay, I tried. Some guys, don't bother. fuck off. Okay, I still tried. Some guys said, okay, you know what, let's be in touch. And so they invited me to this reunion. It must have gone out like the end of 2018. There was talk of this. The reunion was March of 2019, and then that's when the yes, no, I don't know. One of the guys convinced me to go. Says the guys you're worried about are not coming. So, you know what? All right, screw it, I'll go. So far, one guy didn't take me back. We eventually did talk occasionally. One guy who became a savior of my life, still continues to try and do things for me. And this is the biggest one. So I go to the reunion. It is a cloudy, snowy, disgusting weekend there, as it always is in Albany, New York. It's not known for its sunshine and warm weather. So I go, and I'm the second person to be there for the weekend, and I was going to pick this guy up, the guy who convinced me to go. I'm going to pick him up. It was like the Cheesecake Factory maybe up there, and I wound up getting there like an hour after he did. So he's sitting there waiting, he's doing whatever, he's eating lunch, and I go to pick him up. It's hugs and whatever, and so we wind up, we're driving around, we go drop our stuff off at the, somebody got an Airbnb. Somebody signed us up for it. And we're driving around, we go to see the campus, the other guys come in, and we were there on Friday at 12 o'clock, so the other guys are coming in that night after work and whatever. And we have this weekend, not that it was long, it was from Friday afternoon to Sunday evening. It was two days and a couple of hours, and my pledge master was there. We had a great weekend. We got to see so many guys. I got to meet new guys and people who are active in the fraternity, the students. Wound up having a great time. We're doing stuff together. I was the sober driver, and they partied while I stayed sober and drove them around. Got to see the city. We, went all over the place and had a great time. This was the time I should have had when I was initially there, except for the fact that I was drinking and drugging myself to death. We're having this great time, and one of the days we were there, might have been this Saturday, me and the guy who convinced me to go were walking around the campus. We are totally admiring it. We saw the school redid the stadium. Not that it was the best stadium, but it was an improvement from the almost no stadium they had. It was like high school bleachers, a small set of high school bleachers. That was our looking over a football field. That was when we were there. Now there's bigger, not like a Notre Dame type, but it was nice. There must have been a lacrosse game. We were there in March. And we go visit, and we're taking videos. We're admiring the campus. They redid this campus center, and we have this great time. We're bonding. We're talking. A couple of us are apologizing to each other, and we just had this great time. And seeing it and the memory of it, and I was getting all the closure I needed just by being there and healing this old wound of my past. And hanging out at the bar, we walk around, we go to see our old apartment. There was 9 of us that lived together, and 3 of us were there for that weekend, to find out that the house we lived in had burned down, and how shocked I was, and but the meaning we placed on being there was so important to us. Well, basically, what winds up happening is, because I drove up, I was going to be waiting for somebody. He had taken an Amtrak up there. I told him I would drive him home, drop him off in New York City on the way home, and then while I go home to Long Island. And So I took a walk around the campus. I forgot where I parked, so I had to walk the entire campus and just took it in. And when I finally got in the car to get on the New York State Thruway on the way home, I called a couple of guys that didn't go, and one of the guys that I've never lost touch with, we go to the Belmont every year until 2019. Called him on the way home, and he picks up the phone and, hey, how are you, this and that, and I started crying. He said, you all right? And I said, he heard it, that I was crying. And I'm like, dude, tears of healing, tears of joy. That reason I pledged the fraternity in 1999, this is now 2019 at this reunion, has been made whole. The feeling of being wanted, being accepted, being loved by, having a good set of friends, by feeling included, was totally healed. It was everything in that 2.5 days, was everything I wanted in college. In 4 years of college. I was 2 years at that school, so we'll say it was everything I wanted. I got in 2 days. It was everything I wanted in that 2 years at that school. It was the school I graduated from. To this day, I can't describe the power of the healing. These guys are back in my life. No matter where we are. One guy's in Connecticut. A couple of guys are still in upstate New York. One guy's in, I always forget if it's North Carolina or South Carolina. He's in Raleigh. One guy's still on, a couple of guys still on Long Island. One guy's now in Florida. We don't live near each other, but the healing that came with it, and how much I love these guys, and no matter what, 1,000 miles away from the guys in New York, however many hundreds of miles from the guy in North Carolina, wherever we are, we talk about in recovery, the hole in our heart. It was filled with that. It was filled. It was everything I wanted and needed for years. Gone. Like, I can't put words on what that weekend meant to me. It meant everything. So I count from when I graduated in 2001, this reunion happened in 2019. The everything I wanted that I was still hurt about for that 18 years, let alone the 2 years I was there, was healed in 2 days. That's the purpose of making amends. That's what happens to get healed. And I can't thank these guys enough. These guys that we left on bare terms, still some guys want nothing to do with me. It was everything I dreamed of for years. He got healed in 2 days, between Friday early in the day and Sunday evening. Almost 2.5 days. It was healed from that. It was everything I felt left out and bullied. And I can't put words on, one, on that weekend, and two, on what these guys mean to me. These guys are everything to me. I may never see some of them again. I would love to have them down in Florida, have a little, it just seems like, because it's permanent summer down here, and most of them are up north, New York, Connecticut. One guy's in Vermont. We still talk. It was everything I wanted, and how much gratitude I have for these guys. And it's unbelievable. I can't put words on it. So with that, I can talk forever and ever about it. I would like to, but I figured I would like to have kept this video 10 minutes shorter. But if you're sober, go do your amends. What worked for me was doing the hardest ones first. Then you're only going downhill. Gravity takes over. It gets easier and easier. and go do it. Get healed.